Amen. Christ is among us. By the grace of God, last year, at the end of each of the Paraclesis services during Dormition Lent, we meditated on the passages in the Old Testament that speak about, that prophesies and prefigured the Theotokos. This year, God willing, we'll start talking about the passages in the New Testament this time that speak directly about the Theotokos. One of these first verses in the New Testament that speaks about the Theotokos we find in the Gospel of Luke, already in chapter 1, verse 27, and I should start reading with the previous verse, verse 26, which says, "Now in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent by God to a city of Galilee named Nazareth, to a virgin betrothed to a man whose name was Joseph, of the house of David. The virgin's name was Mary." In the 6th month, after Elizabeth got pregnant, 6 months later, the angel Gabriel was sent by God to a city of Galilee named Nazareth, to a virgin betrothed to a man whose name was Joseph, of the house of David. The virgin's name was Mary. Twice in this 27th verse of the first chapter of the Gospel of Luke, we are told very clearly that Mary was a virgin. And St. Luke makes sure to emphasize, to say twice, that the angel was sent to a virgin. Now, probably you know that there was a lot of debate, especially in the last 500 years. The Protestants, were very much against the virginity of the Theotokos. In the Orthodox Church, we keep the tradition of the early church, and we believe, as revealed in the icons by these 3 stars. We cannot see this star on this shoulder, but in many of the icons you can see, like in that icon you can see the star on the right shoulder, and then on her head, and then again on the left shoulder. These 3 stars reveal or remind us of the ever virginity of the Theotokos before, during, and after she gave birth to the Lord. Now, this whole debate about the virginity of the Theotokos, I think, many times is very narrow. Because it is not, we believe that the Theotokos is ever virgin, not only because of her, but because of who she stands for. She stands for the entire humanity. And unfortunately, this entire debate was only about the person of the Theotokos. Was she virgin before, during, and after? How is that possible? And it was only about her. In fact, the Bible reveals a much bigger truth about this ever virginity. If you remember from last year, one of the most important prefigurations of the Theotokos in the Old Testament was the mercy seat of God. That seat above the Ark of the Covenant in which nobody, no human being was ever to sit. Because that was the throne of God. Only God would come and dwell within that throne. And I told you last year that the icon of the Platypera is nothing else than a representation of the mercy seat of God. Because within her, God came and dwelt. She became the throne of God. The mercy seat of God. But what did I tell you so many times? I quoted so many times, Father Alexander Schneemann, who says that the Theotokos is not a great exception, but a great example. The Theotokos is the holy humanity whom finally was faithful to God. The entire Bible, especially the Old Testament, reveals the fact that humanity was not faithful to God. We see in Ezekiel, especially in chapter 16 of the prophecy of Ezekiel, we see how humanity, Israel more specifically, the people of God, the nation was called to be the bride of God. Humanity behaves like a prostitute. And throughout the entire Old Testament, fornication equals idolatry. And idolatry equals fornication. When people are not faithful to God, when they bow down to other idols, that equals fornication. Because humanity, the entire humanity was called to be the bride of God, within whom God would come and dwell, as he says, I will walk among them and dwell among them and dwell within them and walk among them. I shall be their God and they shall be my people. But so many times, most of the time, humanity refused to be married only to God. Humanity refused to be the virgin who is offering herself fully and completely to God. And of course, we know that the Bible ends with a virgin, with that image of a virgin coming down from heaven as a bride, the New Jerusalem, who is the holy humanity who stayed faithful to God until the end. The Theotokos, through her virginity, reveals this holy humanity. The virginity of the Theotokos is not only about her. This is what, why, this controversy about her virginity, became so narrow. It's not only about her, it's about what the entire Bible reveals about virginity. It is about how, indeed, humanity was to be the virgin, the bride of God, and God will come and dwell within humanity. Therefore, beloved faithful, when we think of the ever-virginity of the Theotokos, and we know that we are called to be like her, let us remember that we are called to be ever-virgin. But are we? So many times, we are like Israel, like humanity, fornicating with any kind of idols. The big temptation for the Jews was Baal, the god of prosperity. That's a big idol also for us. So many times, we want prosperity and we want to use even God to give us prosperity. That's idolatry and fornication. There's not being faithful to God when we want prosperity. And we want to use even God to give us, what we want. Idolatry could be replacing God and loving God. Could be replacing God and loving anyone or anything more than Him. It could be my own being, my own person. If I love myself more than I love the Lord, that's idolatry. If I love my wife more than I love the Lord, that's idolatry. If I love my children, my family, more than I love the Lord, that's idolatry, and I'm not a virgin to the Lord. If I love my job, my position, my money, you name it, more than the Lord, that's idolatry and fornication, and I'm not a virgin to the Lord. Let us keep that in mind. that we are also called to be ever virgin, ever loving God and having God dwelling within us above anything or anyone else. That's what Theotokos revealed to us through her ever virginity, and that's how we are called to be ever virgin. Amen. Glory to the Father, and to the Son,